Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Kaiju number 8, season 2, episode 9. Great episode. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, first and foremost, a recurring element throughout this episode is cutting back to Asao. I can only assume, it's hard to say whether that's because considering the way his limbs look, which I could have sworn, when we first saw him, he had all of his limbs, and I don't know if that's supposed to be, symbolic that the more we cut back to him, the less he has, because it's just showing, the state he's in, first and foremost, of, this is, 9 having control of his body, and, he's still recovering after losing, all of his limbs when he blew up most of his body, trying to fight, Narumi and Kafka. And so, but it's just that little spark, a little tiny spark of Asao is there still holding on, I guess, trying to maybe fight his way. Because maybe the more he's holding on, the less control 9 has. And it limits his healing ability. Because it seems like all this other kaiju stuff, he's got his machinations in place. I don't know if he's kind of got that on an autopilot while he's still recovering. Because he might be handling it psychically, operating all this kaiju stuff while he's still recovering. Because he probably hasn't fully built himself back up, it seems based on that. But like I said, that could just be symbolic of just the state that Asao himself is in, the little spark of his consciousness that is still left, that is fading. And obviously for him, his hopes for the future, he's I won't be able to hold on anymore. This is the last the dying of the light of Asao inside of all of this. And it's just wishing Narumi, Mina, all the young ones, including Kafka and his daughter, leaving the future in their hands. It's up to them. I've done what I can. I'm still holding on to the best I can, but this is it. This is the last little bit of me that's flickering out. So we have that. We also cut to the combat training that Kafka started last episode. He's continuing it. Pushing himself more and more to the point he sprains his leg, but Kikuro comes over and kind of makes fun of him because it's yeah, that's all you can do because you can't wield a weapon. But she brings up yeah, my dad would do that every day. I saw it as training. And for Kafka, I think that was a needed thing. He was right, if your father can do it, he's right, Asao was so powerful and strong, so I can't be slacking off. I got to keep going. And Kikuro is happy because for her it's okay, it's symbolic of whatever rut he was in, whatever he was dealing with previously, he seems to kind of found his way forward, obviously because of Hoshina. And so she ends up giving him his phone back. In fact, Hoshina is the one that got it back for him. And he's okay, he's charging his phone. He's so what should I do? I haven't contacted the others. It's been 2 months. So should I say anything to him? But the last time he saw everybody was when he was being shipped off, and now it's they, he knows how Ichikawa feels about it, but he doesn't know where the rest of the unit stands, even though Mina told him no, they aren't, we still support you, but it's still he's drowning in his own doubts and his own fears and stuff like that. So he turns on the phone. I'm the notifications are gonna go crazy, aren't they? And it's yeah, he's got 500 some notifications. And he's oh, but should I contact everybody? What do I say? And then Ichikawa called him, but he accidentally hung up the call. And he's oh, it's too awkward to call him back now. And then Iharu calls him. He's oh. I was it's probably going to be awkward if you do answer that, because Ichikawa's going to be yo, you didn't answer my call, but you answered his. But he does, and it ended up being Ichikawa, voice calling him. And he's just hey, yo, video calling him and yo, why'd you hang up there? And he's also pissed at him. He's why didn't you contact me any of us in these 2 months? And he's no, it's just I couldn't contact you guys because he's even if they took your device, did you really try hard at any point in time to really reach out to us? And because he's yeah, we were worried about you, and before Kafka was about to make an excuse, but he's no, if I wanted to, I've had a lot more freedom in this time frame. It's been a while since I was kind of released and brought into Division number 1. Yes, there's other stuff that's been going on. Things have been kind of crazy and hectic, but there's been enough downtime in between some stuff for him to have done it. But it's it's out of fear. He was so scared that the others in the rest of the unit, he knew where Ichikawa stood, but he didn't know where everyone else did. He was so in his own head thinking they'd hate him and fear him and be afraid of him because of him being a kaiju. And then ultimately Iharu is you're right. We are afraid, but also at the same time, we like you. because you like revealed your secret in front of us and threw caution to the wind for our sake. You transformed and you stopped the base from being destroyed because of Kaiju number 10 and all those wyverns and stuff. So, and Ichikawa was reminding him, like, trust us, have faith in us. Like, you made a promise that you would come back, right? And then he had saw the messages from people being like, yo, like, contact us, like, let us know you're okay. And for Kafka, it just kind of really, he's like, I really have been stupid, haven't I? And Kikuro's like, yeah, we all know you're stupid. But it's like, yeah, knowing how much people care about him, that even with people knowing who he really is and with him being the kaiju that he is, the fact is that it's like, I still have essentially a family and a home to come back to with the 3rd Division. All of those people still got my back and very ride or die with me. So continuing training on that front. Then we cut to some other stuff, some reports that were going around, basically about these kaijus popping up here and there. And the fact is, these look so distinct. They're in these very specific areas, and it turns out every time the defense force gets mobilized to these areas, the kaijus disappear. So it's like these things are distinctly going to be numbered ones. They're definitely going to be on the same level. Probably not as smart as 9, just because, like, you're going to mitigate that. You're going to make it so that these things aren't nearly as strong as you or as smart as you. Even though we're in this together, last thing you want is one of them gunning for the throne. This is supposed to be your operation. You're kind of king of the kaiju right now. Last thing you want is someone snatching that from you, because I'm sure it would turn into like a power battle amongst all of them. So you probably implanted some stuff in them to make them loyal to you and not as smart as you and not as strong as you. That's just my assumption, but we'll see if anything comes of that. What I thought was interesting too, and they didn't really comment on it, one of the kaijus looks like a dark-haired version of Kikuro specifically. So I was like, I'm wondering, was that, it's got to be, well, on purpose, but by whose design? Was it this kaiju's decision? Because it's like you could have chose any form, but you specifically chose a form that kind of looks like Kikuro's. And I was wondering, it's like, I wonder, are the kaijus that popped up this episode, are they going to like disguise themselves as, I wonder, is it going to be based on people from Isao's memory? I wonder if that's what that's going to be. Well, I was thinking it looked like more like Kikuru, but I was like, not unless we end up being a situation where like it ends up being like Hikari ends up being what it. I mean, because obviously like Hikari and Kikuru look a lot alike, but I think it looked more like Kikuru than it did Hikari, even though they look exactly alike. But I'm thinking back on it, I think it's more Hikari. But my thing was like, 9 has run into Hikari previously, well, multiple times. This is like the second time they ran into each other was episode 3/4, so 3/4/5. So I was curious, like, could it be based on 9's interacting with people that is choosing these forms, or is this pulled from Asao, like as I was saying earlier, Asao's memories? I don't know. So that's why I was wondering, like, are the others going to take on the form of like, will there be like one that looks like Mina? Will there be one that looks like Narumi? Because what other reason would there be than just some like psychological messing with your mind? Especially considering this thing has been in Asao's head. It knows enough about the Defense Force in general, but also its members to use as kryptonite against them, like I said, on like a psychological warfare thing, but also just tactically, I know your tactics enough. I know what you're capable of. And that was also the whole concern about, like, I bet, what was it, back in episode 6, they were like, we need to be prepared because this thing most likely has access to all of Asao's memory. So they're already prepared for that potentiality anyway. And because of this, it's a situation of like, they've reached out to other countries about like potentially pulling together, but it's like, well, we can't really do that because we don't want to take the chance like some kaiju like information kind of gets leaked in the process of like, like we don't want anything to kind of get hijacked and give the like kaijus like any like heads up or whatever. But they're doing everything they can to increasing like the time frame of like earlier responses for like kaiju evacuation notices, and like the evacuation places themselves are being reinforced. They're building up their defenses, and they're moving out with different kaiju armors. So like number 1, I think they said 1, 3, 5, and 7. Obviously 6 is already in play Ichikawa, but putting those out there as well because they're trying to find someone capable with 5 and 7 because 1 is going to Narumi regardless. Number 3, 3 is going to someone else because 4 that's what Isawa was looking at. I guess they were biding their time until they can find someone that could fit and resonate with 4, or maybe the plan was always to give it to his daughter. Who knows? But Narumi is like, right, well, after all the progress Kikuro's made, it's like, you've made it to where you can fight me now, so I want you to start wearing this, and we're going to start training you in the armor. And so that's happening. We don't know whether anyone's found one for like 3, 5, and 7, whether they've been checked off the list yet. I wonder, are they going to be characters we know? Maybe some that we're more intimate with, like some of our crew that we've known, or is it just going to end up being characters maybe we've gotten slight introductions to? It's going to be interesting to see, especially after, was it Ogata or something like that? The captain of number 4. He's the one that's like the most like weary of the numbered weapons and stuff like that. Like he's, and the whole Ichikawa of it all, like he's a pivotal person in that conversation. So I wonder Ichikawa was part of his unit, so that's why he had a lot of oversight in that regard. But because of that, I wonder, will he be asked about or kind of oversee any elements of like the other numbered weapons kind of being handed out, especially the armor? Because I'm wondering, that's kind of implying like how many numbered weapons became straight up weapons versus just becoming armor. But I guess it's like depending on what you take from the numbered weapons, like because Kikuro has like the number 3 weapon, but I guess like maybe part of the body was turned into a weapon, other parts of it, maybe most parts went into making armor. So obviously the stage is being set on that front, and then we get a random 3-month time skip where we find out things have quieted down. In fact, the last time a kaiju popped up was like 46 days ago, so it's like almost like a month and a half of no kaijus at all. And it's like, right, so 9 is obviously biding his time until everything's complete. You could kind of see that as not necessarily the ending of the episode is more the opening volley, I guess, but it was just kind of like setting the stage a little bit with the kaiju. So, and those were like a handful, wasn't it like 4 or 5 that got showcased? So we don't even know if those are like all. Those are probably like the major lieutenants, but we don't, or vice captains in a lot of ways. We don't know if like there's more of them out there. So there's a lot, but those might be the head honchos, kind of big kaijus that you have to kind of oversee. Like you just said, generals and a lot of captains and generals or lieutenants type of positioning. But that quiet, everyone's been pushing themselves. Like Narumi and Kikuro have been like training nonstop, like every day. So has Kafka. He's made some progress. Obviously, Hoshino like puts him in his place, but like, well, you haven't made that much progress. You still got more to learn. But when he's going to go enjoy lunch on like the rooftop, lo and behold, who's there? Mina. He's like, I'm going to just sit over there because I can't just sit behind the captain. And she's like, yo, come sit over here. He's like, well. And so he was about to say something because it's like they haven't had like a proper sit down conversation. Like even in season 1, they had conversations here and there, but the last time he talked to Mina in general, more so she kind of talked at him rather than them having a conversation. But she talked to him before he got like snatched up by Asao and stuff. But for her, it's like it's quiet. You almost feel like there are no kaijus and stuff like that. She's like, I recognize this is the calm before the storm, but it's almost nice. It plays into like the dream we had of like wiping out all the kaiju and kind of have this quiet peace that they're kind of enjoying. And she talks about how much Kafka hasn't changed. It's like, you're still that guy that it's like, we were in separate school buildings and you still ran over anytime the alarm went off just to grab me. She's like, it's embarrassing. He was like, yeah, it probably was pretty embarrassing. But he's like, you were my vice captain of the Kafka division or whatever. So it's like, yeah, of course, like I was going to run to make sure you're okay. And she's like, yeah, you did that to everyone. Like you always made sure people were okay. And even when stuff was going down and you were scared, obviously scared, you would always look to me and smile just to make me feel okay, to put on his brave front, So for her, it's like, but she's letting him know, like, once again, I'm not the same person I was back then. I have grown stronger. The fact is that I don't need to stand behind you anymore. The fact is, like, you don't have to hold it. Like, I've heard from Hoshina, that you are what you're planning to do, that you're planning to fight, but like you don't have to hold this burden alone. Like I'm there, so many are there to help you. So just promise me you're going to come out on the other side of this. And there's that moment where Kafka's kind of like hesitant because he's thinking about like how tough this thing is. If someone like Asao couldn't beat it, and it's like even I couldn't, like me and Narumi barely could beat this thing, and it's like, and this thing is only just going to get stronger now that it's acclimated more to Asao's powers, and it's ready for us this time. It's like, I don't know, but he's trying to put on a brave face, be like, we got this. And it's like, Mina leaves. You can tell, like, because she didn't fully smile. She was trying to, but you can see that, like, look on her face, like, she saw through him. And as they're leaving, she's like, you really haven't changed. She's like, there you are trying to put on a brave face despite still being scared. Because even he's like, oh, can we beat that thing? But for him, it's just kind of like, just for the future of everything, we have to. He's like, I have to. So, and once again, I don't know how much Mina and them know about his circumstances, about the more he uses his kaiju powers, because Hoshina knows, so I'd assume Mina knows too, so I think that's also like the point that was kind of said without being said during that conversation. But I even thought it was kind of this neat little thing of like the little girl and mom that Kafka saved in episode 2, when the mom was like, oh yeah, no Kaiju's kind of weird, but she's like, don't worry, mom, I know if number 9 shows up again, Mr. Kaiju will save us. I was like, I thought that was a beautiful thing to kind of bring that back, because we haven't seen them since episode 2. I just thought that was beautiful. I thought that was kind of a nice touch of like, he's completely unaware that there's so many people out there cheering for him and believe in him seeing this through. Even when he doesn't believe in himself, he's got so many people backing him up and who are right by his side in a lot of ways. Thought that was beautiful. And then finally we had the episode ending with like that kaiju revealing itself, transforming, and then murking everyone in the nearby area in one fell swoop, killed a whole bunch of civilians. It's interesting because I was watching something else recently. I'm trying to remember what it was off the top of my head. Oh yeah, because I started One Punch Man recently, and I was like, oh, like I'm bringing up, I think I referenced Kaiju number 8, like, oh, we don't really see civilians deaths, and lo and behold, like, I think I started recording those episodes after, yeah. So like after that, so yeah, this is the first episode of Kaiju number 8 since I made that statement, watching those 8 episodes, and lo and behold, like the next episode would be the one where like civilians get murked. Like I think we just haven't ever really seen it on screen. Obviously, there's been civilian death and Defense Force deaths, but like on a mass scale, we haven't really seen that on screen. This is probably the first time we've ever seen like an on-screen like slaughtering of civilians, but and that's just one kaiju, and it wasn't even really doing much. It just like in an instant killed everyone in the area. So yeah, this was, like I said, this is the proper opening volley to number 9's war essentially. So oh yeah, I completely forgot one more thing. There's the Hoshina Knights thing at the end of the episode, just kind of having a little levity at the end of the episode, but the whole bit with like, was it Hasegawa showing up, and it's like, oh, we got a whole bunch of questions for you. He's like, oh, Narumi was just here and everything. It's like, oh, cool, and it's like, okay, so here's a question for you, and it's like, Narumi wrote that, isn't it? And then they kind of rattle them off over and over again. He's like, Narumi. And to the point he just gets pissed at it. And he's like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to leave. I'm going to go find a fan and I'm going to smack Narumi with it. Because he even made some note, because you just make writing all this stuff about like, talk about how awesome Narumi is. And it's like, well, we know that is a part of his personality and everything. He even made some snide, like his write-in was like a snide remark against, obviously, Hoshino too, but it's just, I just love that. Like I said, just kind of a nice little uplifting comedic bit, just after kind of like rough way to end the episode off with that kaiju. It's going to be interesting to see where the next episode takes us. 3 episodes left of the seasons. We'll see where things go from there. Once again, we haven't fully gotten a peek at what everyone's been up to these past 3 months. Like I said, we get a little insight, seeing a little bit of like how far Kafka's come, but still got more room to grow. We've heard, the noises from like Narumi and Kikuro. We also don't know like what Mina's done to get stronger in that time frame, or Hoshina, considering we know that in that time frame, have they been able to turn number 10 into a weapon for him? And then also Ichikawa has probably been pushing himself with number 6's armor as well too, but not to the same extent. because Iharu is like by his side, and they've probably been growing together as well. So, like I said, it's just gonna be interesting to catch up with everyone to see where they currently are and how this whole fight against the kaiju, how this whole thing like unfolds. But really, that's all I want to talk about today. Next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.